Um, we'll get work on that. Let's go ahead and and Young. You'll get a chance to meet him, and hopefully you'll be able to see him before this town hall meeting is completed. Um, just a little bit about. Okay, I can see.
Oh,
I can
there we
see.
go.
Okay, I can. There we
Okay.
go.
All
Okay.
right. Wonderful.
Um, thank you to the folks behind the scenes. So hey, this is good to see a face, man. It's good to put a face with a name. Um, but hey, you guys, we want to get started. It is 7:07, and really, the we're live. We're live on Facebook and YouTube now. We just went live, and so I want to welcome all of our Facebook friends, our YouTube video friends, and if we're live on WWT Channel 6 Facebook, welcome everyone. This platform was really the motivation was to create some positive energy around solutions as we look at dealing with some very complex challenges that's in front of us. That will include Black Lives Matter, will include this insidious virus called COVID-19. We talked about education, economic empowerment, police and community relations, and the list goes on and on. And so we wanted to create a vehicle that will have discussions around what's our way forward? How do we get there in the midst of the storm sometimes, right? And so with that, we wanted to, I'll let Julian Vaughn, not Julian Vaughn, Julian Vaughn is my bass player out of KC, Julian, but Julian Young, he's an entrepreneur, educator, a family man. He owns several businesses, the Start Center Omaha, which is a not-for-profit arm of what he does, but also he's a owner of, I think is probably one of the best Scooters coffee in this side of the Mississippi, right there on 30th and Ames. It's Scooters on Ames, and his beautiful wife, Brittany, and Julian, they're owners of that. So I'll let you share a few words, Julian, and then let's go ahead and get into the conversation. We'll introduce Anthony Goins and Robert Blackwell Jr., and we'll get this game on. We'll get this party started.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, first of all, Tim, I want to just really thank you, man, and congratulate and celebrate you on this wonderful kind of think tank platform that you're creating with moving people to action. And so I think anytime you can get what they call the meeting of the minds together, and you can have critical discussions around what we can do to move the economic needle within the African American community is powerful. So thank you for providing a platform. I appreciate the opportunity to be a part. There's really no need for me to introduce myself. You said everything. I want to welcome everybody who's here.
Yeah.
The main thing I want to say is really that from a broad spectrum approach, there's a few things that I know, as Tim and I discussed, what would really be the angle of pursuit in terms of this particular town hall. And, I think one of those things is that as we talk about the importance of what's going to be the new way forward in terms of Black wealth, Black business, Black ownership, and just the overall cultural landscape in Black America. As people are tuning in tonight, one of the main things I really want to ask is that you understand the importance of why we're addressing this and why it's so important that as a community, we make certain shifts now. And when I say shifts, I'm talking about paradigm shifts and conversations that have been our center of gravity for some time. We need to kind of investigate those conversations that we have as a community and understand how do we shift it to a conversation that is centered and anchored on economic empowerment and building wealth. So it's not just about the what. I really want people to listen closely tonight, because I think that Tim has assembled a lineup of experts that are going to say a lot of things that are extremely important for you. But I just really want to ask people to hone in on the why this is so important for us as a community, why it's important that we make the shift now, not next year, not 2 years from now, right now. In my opinion, the Black community is in a very critical space where we have got to change the conversation that is really the center point of our community. And I think tonight you're going to be able to draw from a lot of different people who know a lot of different things, have a lot of experience, a lot of in-depth knowledge, expertise, a broad range of perspectives and experiences. But one of the main things I want to encourage viewers tonight, we want you to be encouraged. We want you to be motivated. We want you to ask questions. I think you might have the ability to do that here at some point, but just be engaged at the deeper impact and the understanding of why this is so important. And we get our grasp around this conversation on economic empowerment, doing business together, doing business as a community, and why we need to make that shift right now.
Right on, right on. Thank you, Julian.
Yep.
Hey, let's jump right in. Let's start off with, and we'll have an opportunity for our viewers to get to know some of our guests. We'll put your websites up and your bios and things like that on our website, so people can get to know you. But I want to jump right in. Let's start with Anthony. Anthony Goins, and this is kind of we're going to interconnect this. Robert as well, in terms, so feel free to jump in as we get this dialogue started. But as we look at, Anthony, in terms of just with your role as the economic development director for the state of Omaha, and really just in a lot of your experiences being a businessman, you're a business owner. I want to thank your company for being a sponsor tonight, Capital Cigar Lounge. Thank you, guys. But let's, at a high level, how can we say it, but really, how do we do it when we just say, okay, the people are rising, let's do business? What does that look like? Anthony, once you kind of lead us into this conversation, what does that look like to say, let's just do business?
Listen, I'm going to give you the short version of just do business, because I am a disciple of Robert Blackwell Jr., so I'm going to let him give you the long version. Okay. But what I will say is that as Robert and I have talked, and I met Robert through our governor, Governor Ricketts, a lot of the issues that we have, they're specific to social, really center around economics. And the fact that for a very, very long time, Black folks have been shut out of the economic boom, if I may use that term. So from an inclusion standpoint, we've been left out. Now, a few of us have been able to penetrate and break through. But at the end of the day, our goal is to, as Robert was stated, prove that the free market economy, the system works for everyone. And in doing business with Black businesses at scale, you allow them to hire more Black folks and hire them more than just a livable wage, but hire them at a wage that allows them to take care of their families and allows them to take care of themselves and live a great life. I mean, the bottom line is, if you have economic choices because you make enough money to have those choices, then you have a greater level of influence. And a lot of times your economic choices also gives you an opportunity to have a seat at the table. So I'm going to speak more to my role as the lead of economic development for the state of Nebraska. What I can sincerely tell you is that our governor is behind a movement to say that we need to create economic inclusion for all Nebraskans, including Black folks. And so you will see a number of initiatives that will be launched here very soon that will create that economic inclusion, that will give us the opportunities have a seat at the table and give us the opportunities to make money in a manner that is on par with our peer group. What I will say is that in order for us to do that, we have to be ready. And what do I mean by being ready? I mean being prepared, meaning you're going to hear me talk a lot about having clean books. So what does that mean? That means your financial statements, your cash flow statement, your P&L, your balance sheet, all of the elements around how you present your financials to a banking institution need to be cleaned up. And we recognize that that's a challenge for a lot of Black businesses. I can tell you as a business owner myself, it's been a challenge for me. But I've got some great people that are working on it. Connie Edmonds, who is the principal of her own accounting firm, has worked diligently with my business to make sure that I have books that are clean and that are ready. And I think every business needs to have it. So there's a Just Do Business Foundation that has been a subsidiary of the Do More Good. Jay Wilkinson of Fire Spring runs that. And what I would tell you is that we will have funding and we will choose 5 to 6 Black businesses that are entrepreneurs and wrap services around them and help to subsidize those services so that they have a strong foundation. And those services will be accounting, legal and HR, and marketing. And we'll help to subsidize those services because as a beginning entrepreneur, it's fairly difficult to be able to pay for those services up front when you're trying to focus on moving your product or service.
So in your whole, effort to, move people to, do business, what I'm hearing, Anthony, is there is a component that, or recognizing that there needs to be some, assistance in terms of capacity, aiding folks in terms of that whole thing of helping them get there with books, counting, and some of those capacity building.
Yeah, there needs to be that. I mean, there needs to be some assistance there. But I do want to make this clear that at the end of the day, Just Do Business is a movement that says that, listen, you take real accountability for what you're supposed to do. You do the studying, you put the hard work in, and you create a company that has a clear present value proposition, understands how to differentiate yourself in the marketplace and really take great care of customers. That's the headline. What we do recognize is that when you may not in the beginning have enough upfront capital to hire a CFO, a chief marketing officer, a chief legal officer, and a chief HR officer. So we want to find ways to wrap those services around a few businesses up front with the intent that at a point in time, you move yourself to a better situation so that you can handle those functions yourself.
Right on. So Robert, you're the kind of the father of Just Do Business. Give us your take in terms of just what you've heard Anthony talk about and how do you expand on that?
Well, in my little funky apartment here in Chicago, I've got my little Anthony shrine. Most people, it's hidden, but it's there. I have to tell you that I have committed to moving to Omaha, and it is because of Tony and all the great people that he's introduced me to. You're one of them. I think Carmen Tapio was on the call as a participant. I would tell you just the Black people that I have met in Nebraska, to me, just amazing people. So I grew up in southern Nebraska, AKA Kansas.
Okay.
So it's like my little neighborhood. So, but seriously, I have found people to be really responsive. A lot of people of all races to be, I would say, people of goodwill. And I've been able to have this conversation about Just Do Business. So why do I think Just Do Business is the way for us to solve the challenge that we have? If you have to ask yourself this question: where in the world are poor people healthy, educated, and safe? The answer is nowhere. Conversely, where are affluent people, regardless of their race, not healthy, educated, and safe? I think Michael Jordan may be as wealthy as anybody on this call. I think he qualifies as Black. He doesn't have a problem with his personal safety, probably with his health, and for sure not the education of his kids. That is because he's been able to participate in the free enterprise system. So the idea is, if we need to prove that the free enterprise system works for everybody, because those that frankly have benefited from the most in this country, which are whites and Asians and others, those people who are on the, let's call it, top of the economic ladder. We're on the bottom. My grandfather was an immigrant from Cuba. So if you've ever been to a communist or socialist country, you appreciate how much better that we have it here. So I actually met Governor Ricketts at the Republican Governors Association, because I went to them and say, listen, two things. You guys better pay attention to young people's fascination with socialism. And number two is you need to pay attention to Black people. So that's how I met Governor Ricketts, and I happen to know his brothers because they own the Cubs. But I want to say we need to start with what we want to get accomplished. The question is, what do we want to get accomplished? What I think is, if the Black people participated in the economy in proportion to our talent and population, life would be better. And we ought to figure out what that means. There's no reason why Black people should be at the bottom of everything. So, and it's actually not Black people that are the bottom of everything. It's Blacks, Americans. The least educated from a college graduation percentage is American Blacks. The most educated, most people think is Asians, but it's not. It's actually Africans. So we're at the bottom and the top in that category of, let's say, of achievement. Nobody can argue that in the entertainment industry, which we participate in, we tend to dominate that category. Rap music, unfortunately, is the top genre in the world. And to me, some of it's good and some of it's awfully vulgar. But if you ever go watch like you go watch a video of young gangs, one thing that you will see is these are smart kids. They tell people to stay away from this life. But they also, every one of them wants to be a rapper. That's because the market has told them that's where to place their bets. So if we were trying to, let's say, build muscle, let's say that we were going to be athletes and we got to go from being 175 pounds to being 225 pounds full of muscle in order to make the NFL or whatever, people would say, go to the gym. Just go to the gym. You got to hit the weights. There's a proven formula for building muscle. That's eating, sleeping, and lifting weights. There is a proven formula for taking people from poverty to prosperity. In about 20 years, India and China took 750 million people out of poverty. That's double the population of the United States. In 10 years, India took 300 million out. And that's because their government started doing business with their entrepreneurs, and then American business started doing business with their entrepreneurs. And that industry that they got a hold of, which is tech, has changed their economy, and it's created aspiration for their young people. So I've asked people this question probably 1,000 times. I said, name two famous Black entrepreneurs that would be nationally known that don't have anything to do with entertainment. Almost nobody can name them. They're starting to name Robert Smith now after he gave that money to Morehouse. Now some people know who he is. But outside that, it's really difficult. And that is because nobody does business with Black people. That's why we are where we are. And in order to fix that, we need to get people to just do business. And that should be, in my view, the message. Just do business. That's step one. Do business in a non-pass-through category, because a lot of times people want credit for getting big numbers. And if you want credit for big numbers, what you can do is you can just pass through lots of spend with no or low margin. And that is where a lot of our larger companies are. They're really just gigantic pass-through engines. So for instance, FedEx wants to be on the $1 billion round table. They're going to buy $1 billion worth of fuel for Exxon. They stick somebody in the middle. I'll sell you $100 million. I want you to sell us $100 million of fuel that's going to come from Exxon. And by the way, you get to make $250,000 on that $100 million. That is really how the industry works. So kind of in closing here, what are the steps we need to take in order to move our people forward? Advocate for people just to do business. And so I've created something called the Lead Partner Program. The way the Lead Partner Program works is to say to the company, just do business, preferably in professional services or something like that, because in professional services, all you need is capability and a customer. Then the Black companies have 3 responsibilities. One is to identify a clear value proposition, because if you can't do that, you can't be in business. Number 2 is, since you've got the benefit of this opportunity, you should take responsibility from bringing somebody else along. So make a smaller company a part of your deal, because what you find in our businesses, anybody who's made it is old. There's a incubator in Chicago called 1871. It was started by a bunch of rich white guys so that they could have a Shark Tank and they could look at deals. And I was on that board originally. So they're looking at deals from 20 and 30-year-olds. We talk about people in their 50s. We got to create a pipeline of young people, in my view, that get into industry. The next thing is, how do you create social capital? Social capital is when you reach back and you pull other people along, but more importantly, you create an aspirational roadmap for your young people so they know where to place their bets. So in our case, we've helped start a number of small Black IT companies. I've supported something called Mowers and Blowers, which is essentially microfinance for landscaping, because when there's grass on the ground and snow to move, there's money there. And the last thing we're going to do is something I call the Housing for Tutoring Exchange, where we give honor roll Black college students a place to live in exchange for mentoring and tutoring elementary and high school students and helping seniors. We have so much vacant property in our neighborhoods. So after you've done the social capital, you reinvest the wealth and you figure out what new categories that you can dominate. So kind of last thing is, this is just my view. We have to advocate for one another. Advocate for one another, number one, and then do business. It's not enough just to do business, because if you got little companies, you do a little bit of money. We got to advocate and get people of goodwill to come on this journey with us to prove that the free enterprise system works for everybody. So they need to do business in a meaningful way, not 100, 500 million deals so they create some fake programs. $1, $5, $10 million deal, things that are absorbable, if that's the right word. And then we get a lot of people to do that. And now all of a sudden, we've got lots of business, lots of money, people can grow organically. And the last thing I want to say is, not everybody's meant to be an entrepreneur. In fact, I've never met an entrepreneur that came out of an entrepreneur renewal training program. What I've seen is people who have figured out how to be in business. Now, this is just my own experience, so I'm not knocking it. But if you're going to be an entrepreneur, you got to understand Just like when you go to gym, they got this saying, no pain, no gain.
Right.
A lot more pain in being an entrepreneur than gain. You have to be comfortable with risk. You have to look past yourself, not look at yourself, because nobody cares about you. They care about themselves. So you got to figure out as an entrepreneur, what problem can I solve for you? And the last thing is Black men. Black men are the only men that make less than their women. God bless our Black women. But Black men need to take responsibility for Black boys. So why I think, and I'm really excited, frankly, to meet you all, to go on this journey with you all, because we cannot leave this world with us not doing something to leave something better than we inherited. Our parents and grandparents did a lot for us so that we could benefit. A lot of us have benefited from what they've done. I don't think our kids have benefited from anything that we've done, and we need to change it. So anyway, thanks for the time.
No, that's wonderful. That is absolutely incredible. I actually wanted to ask a couple follow-up questions to
Sure.
things that you mentioned. One of the things that you talked about was the clear value proposition or unique value proposition. I was wondering, and I'll ask two questions, and hopefully both you and Anthony will kind of give us your insight here. Because I know there's some people that are logged in that they're probably in business and never really discovered what that is. And then two, there's probably people that are listening that can't seem to get over whatever the barrier to entry is for them to start their business. So two questions. One is, if you could go into a little bit more in depth, just what a clear value proposition is, or a unique value proposition, what that is, why that is so important to their business. And then second, what do we say to somebody that's here, they're listening on the town hall tonight, they have no connections. They have, they feel like they're starting from scratch, just like most people, just like I'm sure everyone here has had to. What are some things that we say to them to get them through some of those barriers where they feel like I don't have any connections to break through? What do we say to them? So a little bit more insight on the clear value proposition, and then some things we can give to people that are starting from scratch, that are trying to figure out how to make it happen.
Okay, I can take the first one. And if you go, that business is about solving a problem that somebody's willing to pay for, right? If I come to you now and I say, hey, I'll sell you a black shirt. Well, you can say, I already got a black shirt. I don't need that. But if I need to figure out for you how to solve either an emotional or financial problem. So let's say that you have, well, I'll use my own case. So I have a daughter, and my daughter was affected by autism. So more than anything in the world, I wanted her I had to focus on her education. So I live here in Chicago. We lived on the South Side. I knew there were no schools over there in the South Side where my daughter was going to get the services that she needed. So I got a house in Wilmette where the Ricketts family lives. They went to the same school. Now, I had to spend a lot of money, but there was nothing more important than that. So if somebody were to come to me and say, your daughter's got autism, we can help change her life. Here's how. Give me $100,000 a year. And by the way, in that case, I'll live in the basement. I'll sell my cars. I'll do whatever I have to do for her. That's love. So that's solving an emotional problem. The other problem you can look at is from a financial perspective. So let's say that I have a customer, and that customer is worth potentially $10 million to me. Okay? You got a connection to that customer. You can go and tell that customer, Robert's not a bad guy. Their company can do X, Y, Z for you. I know you spend $100 million. You ought to take 10% of that and do business with Robert. Now, if you come to me and say, hey, Acme Corporation, I've already talked to the CEO. I think they'll do $10 million worth of business with you. You know what I'm going to say to you? How much money you want? Mm-hmm. You can say, hey, it's going to cost you. One is you're never going to get that $10 million without me. And in your industry, cost of sales of client acquisition is about 15%. Tell you what, you give me $1 million, I'll take care of the rest. What do you think I'm going to say? There's your $1 million. And I'm happy to give it to you. Let's do that 4 or 5 more times. So a really clear value, in that case, you would be my customer. You're solving, in that case, a financial problem for me. Mm-hmm. When you go to businesses, you have to do the same thing. You've got this problem. I can help you make more money, or I can help you save more money, or I can help you eliminate risk. That's what my business is about. I can make your customers happy, your employees happier, some problem that they're willing to pay you for that's different from what the other guy is going to do. Now, by the way, if there's 7 of you and they can make the same introduction and another guy will do it for 50,000, I'm not paying you $1 million because it's not differentiated. Does that make sense?
Yeah. Yes.
Now, the last thing is the second part of your question about what happens if you don't have any relationships? Mm-hmm. How you get started? Mm-hmm. I'd say money follows opportunity. It is almost, in my view, it is almost impossible not to be successful if you are fanatically determined to be a winner. And different people have different skill set. I believe God blessed everybody with some kind of skill. Mm-hmm. You need to figure out what you can be world class at and what the market problem is. It's not that hard to meet people. You could say, I own a table tennis company. You could say, hey, I got a manufacturing thing. I can do that for 30% less. You find me on LinkedIn, I can solve your problem. Mm-hmm. The likelihood is I'm going to take a meeting with you. Mm-hmm. There's all kinds of ways to introduce yourself to people. That's not the hard thing. The hard thing is in 30 seconds to say, this is what you can trust me with. I can solve this problem for you, and it's a category where you can trust me. And if I believe that I can trust you, I'll try you. That's how most people get it. Unless you're related to somebody super wealthy or you're born into something, but that's not what happens with most people. Most people fight their way through to getting what they want. It's like Tony and Kim. Listen, you have to think about sales, and anytime you meet somebody, sales is about building a relationship of trust, telling people what category they can trust you in. And if they trust your character and they trust that you are relatively smart, then almost it's really hard not to get an opportunity and to get in. But you got to be ready. Mm-hmm. That answer your questions?
Yeah, absolutely. So if I'm listening right, I'm hearing and you're saying they got to bring that unique value to the table before they go try to get that opportunity. Is that right?
That's exactly right. Never waste the meeting.
Uh-huh. I tell a quick, my wife and I are the first African-American franchise owners of a Scooters franchise, or Scooters Cause. Right. And all we did, I just picked up the phone, man.
There you go.
You know what I'm saying? I just picked up the phone. I saw that, hey, these guys don't have any stores in the Black community. I'm sure if somebody presented the opportunity, they might be interested in it. And the unique value wasn't necessarily what I could, they already had a successful multi-million-dollar business. But I think the unique value was saying, we think that you're missing out on a great market and community to do business. And I remember one of the first meetings I had with the founder, CEO of Scooters, I said, hey, man, how come you don't have any stores in the hood? And he laughed at that question, but he looked at me and he said, Julian, I suppose that's why you're here. So the reality is people don't realize that opportunity was there. And I get people all the time to say, man, I was thinking about doing that. Well, I don't doubt it, but you didn't take action. So
that's great. That's a great example, by the way. By the way, why he didn't have any stores there.
Right.
So you said, I know this guy doesn't know there's an opportunity there.
Right.
I'm a good guy. I can solve a problem for you.
Yes.
Let's do business.
Yes.
Yeah.
You guys know coffee. We know the community. So let's do that. Anthony, your take on those questions. Just dive in a little bit more into the importance of that clear value proposition and people that are trying to fight their way without any connections or relationships to kind of break through.
Well, at the end of the day, Robert said it best.
Mm-hmm.
So, I'll just reemphasize one point, and that's really differentiating yourself from the competition. You've got to, and the other element I'll talk about are the people you surround yourself with. Because at the end of the day, you don't do this by yourself. You have to be maniacal about talent. You have to be maniacal about making sure that you bring people along that share your value system and that are aligned with the mission and the vision that you put in place. You have to make sure that you do have values, because at the end of the day, your values drive your behaviors, mm-hmm. and your behaviors drive your outcomes. I always say, if you think about Christianity, at the end of the day, if you are a Christian and you proclaim to love Christ, then your behaviors are different. And what the data shows is typically your outcomes in your life are much better based on your behaviors. Mm-hmm. And so you got to put people around you that can support that value proposition. Mm-hmm. And it's about a team.
Yeah.
When Robert and I met, I knew this was going to be my kindred brother. I already knew it because mm-hmm. we had aligned values. Mm-hmm. And everyone that we have associated ourselves with around this Just Do Business movement have the same value system. That value system is really synonymous with trust and loyalty. And that trust and loyalty helps to create your brand. And like Robert said, when you have a reputation of being trustworthy, of having a brand that says that I subscribe to excellence and I subscribe to winning, but I do it in a way that exhibits the highest level of humility. Because here in Nebraska, humility is important. You don't have to, let me use my grandson's word, you don't have to floss. You care about people, you care about them deeply. When people know that you care about them deeply, then they're more endeared to you. And so you have the opportunity to build those relationships because you have exhibited a brand based on your value system and the philosophy in which the way you live your life. And this is a small community. Mm-hmm. All communities are really small. They're just microcosms of a larger community, but word gets around. People talk. How did I hear about Robert? I heard about him from the governor. So the governor's family must have felt as though he was a trustworthy person. Otherwise, they wouldn't have made the introduction. So to Robert's point, it's not difficult to build relationships when you build a really strong foundation about who you are, the way you present yourself, and you do it in a manner that shows that you truly care about people and that you are exhibiting the highest level of excellence. I'll give a clear example. I got an email about you from Tom Osborne. Mm-hmm. I responded right away. Tom Osborne co-signed for you. 5 minutes later, I get a text message from Tim Clark about you. We never met before. So they've already co-signed for your brand. And I think you and I are meeting next week.
Yes, absolutely.
Oh, by the way, then Tony told me about you too.
That's right.
That's great.
That's right. Absolutely. So that's a really easy example of how relationships start. And Julian, that wouldn't have happened if you were not a man of character and if you did not exhibit a value system that would allow Tom Osborne, who is God in Nebraska, to co-sign for you. I can drop the mic on that one.
Yeah, the other thing
save me a cigar.
That's I got you. Pass the hat around.
Yeah. Hey, you guys. I know we could spend a lot of time. You know, I think the conversation's been awesome, but we do have some other panelists that are waiting in the gallery to jump in and have some conversation as well. And we're having folks in the chat, Robert and Anthony. They're asking questions. So if we can just, as we wrap up this, Julie, maybe you think of one thing, but we're going to do a little speed dating. You know, you're going to have less than 30 seconds to kind of hit these questions real quick, so we can get some of these things in terms of in really kind of just in the where we want to do is move to action kind of thing. So one of the questions is this: how do we get more Black folks to move to that middle class? And so look, just somebody react to that as I look at the next question. Okay, just you got 30 seconds, and we got to just answer that. Okay.
Okay.
How do we move more Black people to the middle class?
Do business. That creates economic opportunity. They hire more people, and when you're in the modern parts of the economy, people make more money. There you go.
My 30 seconds is Robert's was geared towards entrepreneurship. Mine is going to be geared towards corporate America, and I use myself as an example. Work hard, be the best student you can be, study your craft and understand the detail, build relationships, and move through the ranks. When I left the United States Marine Corps, my very first job in corporate America, I was a security guard. And I wore my security guard uniform with creases just like I wore my Marine Corps uniform. Somebody recognized that maybe I would have some potential and gave me the opportunity to be a credit authorizer at American Express. Somebody gives you an opportunity to deliver more than what is expected. Make sure that when there's a conflict, you conflict in the right way. You don't conflict by going out on Facebook and creating all kinds of drama. You conflict by having a conversation. When you do those things very well, doors will open and you can move yourself up to the middle class. And that was my route.
And what do you recommend for us tools and resources? I mean, I know I hear relationship, how should they go about getting there?
Well, I mean, listen, whatever your craft is, you have to study. I mean, there's no magic pill for being able to get knowledge and information. You have to study. You have to surround yourself with people that understand the area that you're trying to focus on, and you have to work hard.
Yeah, I just add to what Tony, pardon me.
Bless you.
What Tony said is there's a marketplace. You got to understand what the marketplace is, and when you're young, you need to get out of school learning how to read, write, and reason. That's it. Learn how to read, write, and reason. You don't need to be teaching, fifth graders entrepreneurial classes. You need to teach them how to read, write, and reason so they know how to think. When you get out of school, whether that's high school or whatever it is, figure out the market is always looking for winners. It is almost impossible in this country if you give 100% not to be successful, no matter who you are in this country. Look, if at least I can afford my little funky apartment, so that proves anything's possible here.
Well, you guys, we got to wrap it up. Really, this has been one, Robert, welcome to Nebraska. I hear you're going to be heading this way soon.
That's
so
right.
I'm excited to really work with you, and I know other participants that's on this Zoom is really excited to do the same. And so thank you, Anthony, for what you're doing. I know if folks, as far as resources, the Economic Development Department with the CARES scholarships, there is millions of dollars out there to help people, move people from unemployment, underemployed, and that's being housed out of the Economic Development Department of the state of Nebraska. And I'm pretty sure all over the country, there's the likes of these opportunities. And it's really about what are we going to do to help better ourselves so we can really impact our community. But I think we got to look inward, look at the person in the mirror, and we move on. We got to take a commercial break. break. We got to pay the bills here too, like CNN. So we're going to take a break, and we come back. We're going to transition the other panelists on, and we're going to really get down. We got some bankers on. We got some folks with, credit recovery. Julian, I think other folks that's going to the SBA. They're spending a whole lot of money. We got Leon
Malabar, my friend Leon.
Yeah, he's on.
Right.
So now we probably should move. Now this segment, Julian, we probably should call it "Show Me the Money." I know some folks are saying, "Where's the money at?"
Right. Yeah.
So
absolutely.
So
good deal. All right, guys. Well, listen, so good to meet you. Thank you so much for having me.
Yes, thank you.
See you guys soon.
Thank you.
Right on, and you guys can stay on as long as you want. We're going to transition, and we will be live on Facebook. So mute your sound, okay? We're going to still be live, okay?
Thank you, guys.
My name is Avon. Since I was 3, I was living with just me and my mom.
Mentoring has had a positive impact on Avon's life in so many different ways.
So Avon has been matched with me now for about 6.5 years.
Having a mentor helped him trust people.
I feel like I can talk to him about anything. It's just amazing the type of impact that you have that you may not even know that you're having.
All right, hello Omaha, this is Kenny McMorris and I'm the CEO here at Charles Drew Health Center. And we're here just to share a few tidbits with you about the importance of protecting yourself and addressing the COVID-19 pandemic. The basic principles include making sure that you wash your hands, keeping some level of a face covering, and practicing at a minimum a 6-foot distance between you and the other person. These basic things are going to allow us to continue to keep reducing the spread in our community and, more importantly, keeping everyone healthy. So all the things that we can do to keep the community protected is well within our power. We understand that anxiety and dealing with this pandemic is really difficult on many people, including us here at Charles Drew, but know that we are here to support you. We are all in this together, and I like to say that I am my sister's and my brother's keeper. So if you need help, if you want support, reach out to us here at Charles Drew. We can be reached at 402-451-3553 to get testing and to know your status.
I'm seeing young, upcoming leaders in our community already stepping up to the plate and being mature and helping their families, their community, and the people that they love to make sure that we all get through this together.
But now you've heard it's a good idea to wear a face covering in public.
Please do not take it personally.
Your mask protects me, my mask protects you.
But here's the key. Make sure it covers your mouth and nose.
Like this.
It's easy, Douglas County, so please wear a mask.
Book, YouTube, they're all live and welcome. We got Leon and BC. I'm thinking let's go ahead and Julian, is Julian back on? Julian, I can see your logo, but I can't see you, Julian. Let's see if we can get you back.
Okay, let's see.
There we go. My man.
Right.
I got you. Yeah.
All right.
Well. So Leon and BC, you were in the gallery as we were kind of doing this first segment. First of all, thank you for taking the time. And I think, we kind of at a high level was talking about really what it's going to take to kind of move us. But you two represent a unbelievable source of opportunities for people to stop talking about it, but being about it. As my friend Willie Barney always say, hey, stop talking about it, let's be about it, right? And so this is the chance to do that. So really, Julian, let's just jump in, because what I would like to do, maybe halfway in this, we're going to bring on Ernest, White, and Nicole Ryan, and have them join us in this discussion as well. And especially that we're in kind of we've got about an hour to finish up this segment. So let's start with BC. BC, from what you've heard, what's resonating with you? You see a whole lot of startup businesses. People come to you, to Nebraska Enterprise Fund, for money. In this COVID-19 virus, what is the opportunities? Are you guys still giving money out during this time? So why don't you talk to us a little bit? Let's go ahead and unmute you. You're I know you're muted. Your sound is, there you go. There you go. Okay, I can hear you now.
It went back to mute, BC.
Wait a minute. Let's unmute you. There we go. There you go. You're unmuted now.
Okay, great. All right. Well, thanks again for having me on. And yes, I've seen a lot. So let me just kind of go back to COVID-19. Of course, we have capital, obviously. We have capital. So when I hear people say there's no capital, there is capital. But the thing is that, are they ready for the capital? Do they have what they need to be able to access?
You're talking about readiness. Readiness.
Yeah,
okay.
Right. And so
Anthony, talk about that.
Yeah. So when we had, when COVID happened, a lot of businesses, a lot of the really small micro businesses were in chaos. And most of our job was trying to take care of the emotional aspects of them being a business owner at the time, wondering what they would do. Mm-hmm. And for all of our clients, what we did actually for that first, when we first found out in March, we started offering deferments for up to 3 and 4 months for them to just to get organized, so that they wouldn't have to lose anything. So that was really key. But the whole thing that what we ended up doing as well was that a lot of them thought that they needed to close their business. But basically, they just needed to rethink. They needed to look at how they could make some different creativity. What products did they need to hold on to? What products did they need to get rid of? What services were really in demand that they hadn't thought about? And so for different industries, we were tasked with working in that arena for months, getting them to see something other than where they were, because a lot of them were stuck. So we had to say, what are the goals? What have you planned for the next 2 years, the next 1 year? And having them focus outside of the present situation allow them to be able to think about some additional things they could do so that they wouldn't have to close their business. So that was the key.
Yeah, and that's pretty tough when you think about it. You have all this right in front of you, and really you got to look way beyond what's in front of you in terms of your future, and prepare for that as well. That's so important. Mm-hmm. So in terms of just what's resonating, we have Winsley Duran on as well. Leon, what's resonating with you with all of this, and the SBA? I mean, you're playing a significant part, with the money. A lot of money is passing through the Small Business Administration. But talk to us a little bit, and hopefully we'll be able to pull up on the screen there.
Tim, it's not only the money. We provided a lot of our resource partners the technical more money so they can go ahead and reach out to businesses, especially Nebraska Enterprise Fund. There's a Carl. There are certain things that they could do. Carl's the name of a program. You asked me to explain what Carl means, and it has to do with the additional technical assistance for businesses. Because what Tony and
Robert
Robert said was true. You have to be ready. That's one of the things the Nebraska Enterprise Fund, all of our micro lenders, one of the things that we had for years in a problem here in Nebraska, we didn't have enough micro lenders to get a lot of the people started and the technical assistance to go with. And that is one of the biggest things that I've been preaching since I came here since 2007, and we made a significant difference in terms of being able to do that, to grow those resources, to help people become ready. You know, think about financial literacy. You know, too many of our kids and even adults don't understand financial literacy. They don't understand their financials, the accounting. So many of them, what really surprised me the last couple of months, how many people do not have a bank? They have no bank relationship. And that's why I think when Ernest comes on American National Bank, you know, this is one of those things that it surprised me. We had customers call me because they had no local community bank that they could deal with, no relationship.
No relationship.
So many bits of education, but you know, this opportunity, you know, a lot of businesses that managed to successfully go through this, they still had a connection with their customer, but they didn't know how to go ahead and reach their customer. Tony Goins told me about a vape shop where they changed how they delivered product to individuals. Tony and a cigar bar and all of that, you know, they changed their model so people could still access what they were selling, maybe at a lower level. You know, you still have to go out and seek customers, and that is one of those things. You know, the financials. You know, we took care of a lot of that. You know, because of the program, the treasury, and everybody set up. But more importantly, that it's always that technical assistance, that learning. We want to get people to the point where they can take advantage of situations. Our biggest issues and failures that we see, people do not know how to potentially how to market, and secondly, it's relationships. They don't form relationships.
Well, what do you mean? What do you mean by not knowing how to market themselves, their business, their products? Or
they think people are just going to come to them and all of that.
Right.
They're just not out. Okay. They don't have a Facebook. They don't have all of their marketing materials, and you know, they don't know how. Many people don't know how to sell. That's right. one of those things that they're afraid to go ahead and ask for the business and collect money. This is some of the basic fundamentals of operating a business. We see great ideas and startups, but they cannot complete. That's one of the things. You know, we talked about building relationships and asking and developing that trust with customers and other businesses. That's so important. There's opportunities out there. You know, one of the great things that the Chamber has done is regarding the construction, and Nebraska Enterprise Fund has been involved with these contractors and all of that. That is a big thing. You get them up to a certain size, trust in the construction industry, especially when you're dealing with the major contractors, the primes, they're looking for that trust. There's opportunity there. There's money to be made in the trades, continuing to make trade. My next door neighbor was a garbage hauler. He made tremendous amount of money hauling trash. There is money in trash. There's money in trade, you know, and you don't have to all go to college. You just have to figure out, you know, what you can deliver and deliver best. Solve that problem from somebody else. Answer one of the questions. Kathy Hughes, probably one of the most successful women in radio when it comes on a radio station, originally from Omaha, correct?
That's right.
That's right. Yeah. I remember her. Yeah. I met her. She's an amazing woman. You know, we have stories here that are people who have done the hard things. Carmen Tapio will tell you about all the opportunities that she took advantage of. As she said, yes, it was hard. And now what she's doing and with her employees in that development, maybe one of the things that we have to look at is throughout the community, where are the relationships, not only community, but to our friends, where we could go ahead and leverage them to bring people on, internships and the rest of the thing, because you have to grow that. We have good examples of it that other individuals have done it in corporations. If you haven't talked to Lance Morgan and all that, Lance Morgan has done that with the Winnebago tribe. Same exact formula that Robert Blackwell was talking about. Same thing.
Okay.
Let me, and then I want to kind of ask a question here, and I want to loop Winsley in here with the Reach Initiative at the Greater Omaha Chamber. And I don't think people realize how long Winsley has been doing this. When I launched the Start Center, Winsley's one of the first people I went to just to get the lay of the land. And one of the things that was so profound to me was how many business owners, and a lot of our favorite businesses that we frequent, Tim, I think people don't know how many of those people Winsley helped get their businesses started. So Winsley, I want to throw something at you because BC mentioned something so important. When Tim talked about capital, she said, well, the question is, are people ready to access the capital? Some of the things we've seen at the Start Center for us dealing with this period in time, and I'm interested to hear your feedback. We feel like we're doing a good job educating, but seeing how much people struggle with this, for us, the emphasis was going back to educating them on their core values as entrepreneurs and really developing those skill sets to make the right decision. So as far as, you guys are doing a lot of great things with the Reach Initiative. What are some of the things you're seeing? What are some of the things you guys are telling entrepreneurs to do? And what advice are you kind of having for people that are listening that are trying to reposition or repivot their business, or even people that are trying to start up in this climate?
Well, that was a whole lot there. So I will jump in on some of these.
I'll help you.
And, all right, thank you, BC. So I think that some of the key topics that some of our previous speakers have hit on, whether it's BC or Leon or our previous speakers, is preparedness, I think innovation, and having a whole business. So, when we take a look at, having a whole business, what does that mean? Well, Leon talked about, being able to market. Sometimes, our folks are really good at the specific trade, maybe not the rest of being a good business person. And BC had hit upon education. So with our Reach program, there's kind of three main components. One is education. Second is the connections. And the third is the access to capital. And within that, there's all sorts of subsets that go along with that. But folks really just, I guess another theme there is entrepreneurship is hard. It is not, there's a lot of people that have a misconception. And I think having the right expectations right out of the chute is essential. Mm-hmm. And in order to do that, I basically think that there's about 5 things that are key components. People need to have passion, to have knowledge. They need to have some connections, capital, and a plan that's based in reality. We often find that folks, when they jump into it, they may be a great tradesman, but they need to make sure that they're surrounding themselves not only during the execution, but just as importantly during the planning portion. Those folks, maybe it's a good accountant, an attorney, a strategic planner, and a marketing person. These are all aspects that if you leave one of them out, you're gonna, at the very least, have a tough time in a rough road. And at worst, you're going to be invested in this business and you're gonna take BC's money, squander it, and then now you're gonna have a failed business and you still owe BC a whole lot of money. And so I think it is absolutely necessary for people to be prepared. And I think that, again, that is a key thing that will probably go through this whole session is sometimes people say, oh, there's a lack of capital. Well, Leon and BC know that there's not necessarily a lack of capital. There's a lack of people who are prepared to take advantage of the capital that's already out there and available for them.
Right.
They need to have the credit, a good business plan. There's just so many things that if prepared on the front end, things become so much easier.
Mm-hmm. And just to piggyback with you, Winsley, the other thing too is that what we found out, and I got to tell you, working with over 300 and some clients, that a lot of them, a lot of their records were not in order. Their financials were not in order. So when the opportunity came around for them to be able to take advantage of PPP and IDLE, they weren't ready. They weren't prepared. And so that first round, most of them missed it. And we spent months doing technically working with all of them, training on PPP, training on IDLE, getting them their financials in order so that they could take advantage of it the next time around. And they were able to do that. But I think it also showed them how important their financials are and how important it is to have good records kept so that they could retrieve them fast and they can get things to if they had to mail it off or whatever. Some people didn't even have their taxes for like last year or year before. So that was a big issue. And if you were a sole proprietor and didn't have employees when it came to the paycheck protection and your Schedule C wasn't done, you weren't eligible because you needed to have that Schedule C. So there was a lot of learning that happened with a lot of the businesses. Now, the other thing, and when I said that it was great for them for us to take them out of the present situation, because it allowed them to think about what they had not done. A lot of them did not have business plans. And when an interruption happened, you should have business resumption. So how do you get back into business once there's a pandemic or an interruption? A lot of people didn't have those. So, for the last few months, we've been having workshops on business resumption. What steps you need to take if there is, a pandemic or a tornado or whatever, some disaster that happens in your business, so that you can get back to business as fast as you can. What are those key elements that are essential that you need to make sure you can get up and running before you open up? And so a lot of people never even thought about it. They started their business, they didn't have a business plan, but they started and they kept going. But there is a point, there is a strategy that you need to lose. I think one of the things was, how do you get a business started now? Do you know that there has been I've seen over 25 to 80 businesses that have been started during this pandemic because people had time to think about things. If they were working a side hustle and were making money, what is this viable? And that's the first thing I say when you want to start a business in any kind of situation. Is it something viable? Will you be able to make money at it? And then can you grow it? And what do you need to do that? And there are disciplines I think people just don't realize. So if you want to start your business, I think number one, you need to focus on that core business model, whatever that is that you want to do. And you need to be able to execute. How many times you sit and say, I'm gonna, and you never do. And so a lot of times you have to get past those steps. But then you need a good team around you, a good team that can help you get to those areas and things that you don't already have. Without that core team that's helping you get to where you need to go, then you are stuck.
No.
But then, yes.
I was just going to say, BC, in terms of just, I hear you. Where might you suggest people that, they don't have a team, where do they start in terms of building a team? And I do understand, it seems like out of this, this pandemic came we unveiled a lot of things that were some shortcomings in terms of businesses. But what I'm hearing is through the chamber, through the reach, through the SBA, and through Nebraska Enterprise, that you have technical assistance programs that's going to help build some of those skills and build some of those things and resources.
Exactly.
So how might people, how might they start? I mean, because we keep hearing relationship. And so, just joining the chamber is not going to get it done. No. But that's a start. That's a good start. It's a great start. So how might they give them some practical things of what they can do?
Right, absolutely. And because of the pandemic, we're not able to network like we normally do, but we are networking on Zoom. If you haven't tried it, it's really great to meet tons of people. However, but I'm a habitual networker, so I can meet people in the grocery store. Anyway, that's even a key, because sometimes you have to talk to someone else, right?
That's
So
right.
when we
That's
talked
right.
about not having a relationship with a banker, we have a workshop that helps you be able to go in, because most people think that they have to have a relationship with the bank only when they need money. But do they even know that you can go in when you have an idea? You know, when you're trying to get that idea into a concept to find out if it's a viable, if it's something that they should go after. So developing those relationships early allows you that opportunity to be able to go in and sit and talk with that banker. And now you're all of a sudden you're going in and you're asking questions. They have great advice. They have suggestions. They can tell you what the market is in certain areas. They know that stuff. So before you say, "Oh, I don't know anyone," go and talk to a banker. Develop that relationship, because it's going to be key at some point in that business startup, growth, expansion, whatever it's going to be. You're going to need a banker or some lender. So you're going to have to do that. The other thing is that you can go to the chamber. They have advice and suggestions and things as well. We specifically do technical assistance. That's one of our strengths, is technical assistance, helping people work through a lot of those things, helping them meet other resources, and that's our tagline. you know we help those businesses connect with the resources that they need. So the thing is that to look and see what resources are available. Where can I go? We have SCORE, we have the SBA, we have NBDC, we have the Nebraska Enterprise Fund. These are all resources that you can go to, develop relationship with each of them, and they'll introduce you to someone else. I mean, there's always resources. So don't be afraid or stay on the island and say, well, there's nobody to help me, because you have to have some tenacity yourself. You have to be able to be confident in yourself, believe in what you're doing, and be able to go out and get what you need, because it's not going to always come to you. It's not coming to you. You need to go out and make it. And if you don't see it, do you need to design it? I mean, we have to continually be thinking about where we're going and what we want to do. And that takes having a tribe, some people that other business owners that you can ask a question with. You can, I don't know, is it hard for you guys to develop a relationship? Because it's not for me.
Yeah, well, you got some people that are introverts. It is difficult. Maybe BC, they're in the wrong business, but it is difficult for some folks to develop relationships. But I think what you're saying, is maybe if that's your weakness, you got to build and put people around you to help you really, really with some of the weak areas. If you don't want to be the person out there selling and that's not your gift, find somebody that can do that. But that's part of that team building. But one of the things, Julian, that I'm hearing, I don't know if you caught this, but man, it just seemed like when I was starting my business and things like that, although there was some cash available, and actually I partnered with Nebraska Enterprise Fund when I went into on my first restaurant venture, but I'm hearing that there is once upon a time you hear that there's nobody, there's no resources, people don't want to give loans. Now there's some truth, and we're going to introduce Ernest White, and then we have Nicole Ryan coming on. But there's an initiative that just started in North Omaha, that's the Harvard Bank, but there's resources out there, and I think part of what I'm hearing, I don't know if you're picking up this too, Julian, is that it's about readiness. It's about, are you ready?
Right.
There's plenty of resources out here, but it's just like you got to get ready.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. One of the things we did before we launched the Start Center, Tim, we spent about a year surveying the entrepreneurial landscape in Omaha. And one of the things we saw was, it's not that there aren't resources, it's not that there aren't service providers. To your point that everyone's making, we saw that people were not prepared, but we wanted to understand what's driving those mentalities and those social paradigms that's keeping people from working through the barriers and going and getting access. And so I really honestly, I think, and this is going to sound very fundamental, and I always tell our entrepreneurs there's nothing fun about fundamentals, but to people that are listening and that are wanting to start or figuring out how to go to scale in their business, If you're listening to kind of the heart and soul of what people are saying, when we start talking about being prepared, when you hear BC start talking about the education aspect, different things, we're talking about really, do you understand the fundamental basics to starting up? And so, one of the things I want to get into, and I just want to talk about this, and I really want people to kind of dive in because there's a number of things that drive this topic, but I really want to talk about this fear thing, and why so, especially when you start getting into North Omaha, you start dealing with African American minority entrepreneurs that don't think their ideas have merit. They don't feel adequate enough to start up. They're afraid to start up. What are some of the things that we can tell them tonight? How can we get them to make that shift? Because I'm sure if all the service providers and here, if we had a chance to really talk about it, this is really to us where the rubber meets the road. How do we get them to take action? How do we get them to get out of the fear? How do we get them to move beyond the barrier? They see the resources are here. So I know that this is going to help, but I want to see if some of our panelists will speak to some of the people right now that are listening. They know they have an idea. The idea has merit, but they don't know. They're scared as hell to start up in this climate. They were already scared before COVID. Now they're really scared.
Right.
What the heck do we say to them to get the light to click that they can do this?
And Julie, before they answer that, I have somebody in my ear saying we got to take a commercial break. Isn't that amazing on Zoom too? You got to do all this commercial break stuff. That's amazing. But keep that thought in mind in terms of, because we'll introduce our the panelists that just joined us, Nicole and Ernest, and then have everyone kind of weigh in after we take a short break. And remember, panelists, you're live on Facebook and YouTube, so they can see you and hear you as we take this break. But we'll take a short break, okay? And then we'll come back and then we'll go in deep.
My name is Avon. Since I was 3, I was living with just me and my mom.
Mentoring has had a positive impact on Avon's life in so many different ways.
So Avon has been matched with me now for about 6.5 years.
Having a mentor helped him trust people.
I feel like I can talk to him about anything. It's just amazing the type of impact that you have that you may not even know that you're having.
Richard Webb here, biggest kid within the 100 Black men of Omaha. And I come to you today to make sure that we understand that it is our part in making sure that our community stays safe. With this COVID-19 pandemic going on, we have to make sure that we're always wearing our masks, washing our hands, and social distancing. We each can have a part in making sure that we come out of this stronger as a community together. And if you do your part, I do my part, we do our part, we will come out stronger than we've ever been before. Thank you for doing your part, wearing your face mask, washing your hands, and social distancing so that we can get through this.
Stay home, stay safe, support the village. A message by North Omaha COVID-19 Community Task Force.
I'm seeing young, upcoming leaders in our community already stepping up to the plate and being mature and helping their families, their community, and the people that they love to make sure that we all get through this together.
By now you've heard it's a good idea to wear a face covering in public.
Please do not take it personally.
Your mask protects me, my mask protects you.
But here's the key. Make sure it covers your mouth and nose.
Like this.
It's easy, Douglas County, so please wear a mask
mastering fundamentals and basics to starting up or repositioning your business. But I think one of the things that really comes into play here is people are already scared to start their business, and they're probably even more afraid now because of the current conditions because of COVID. What can we say to people that are listening tonight? What do we need to say? What do they need to do to move past the fear or the anxiety of getting their business started? How do we get them to make that shift so that they can start solving that problem in their community and beginning to build wealth? So let's just start with Winsley, and folks can jump in as we go along. But Winsley, kind of, what are some of your thoughts on that?
So basically, fear is a very paralyzing force. And the thing that neutralizes fear is knowledge. And as people have said before, there are a lot of great resources, NBDC, SBA, SCORE, Nebraska Enterprise Fund, Catholic Charities, the Chamber. There's lots of folks that are out there. They want to help small businesses. They have the connections. The more people you know, the luckier you get. And by plugging into any of these organizations, they can amplify the number of people that you can know and the right people to know very quickly. All of them are just eager and waiting to assist people. One of the resources that we hope to have available for small businesses is a resource map of all the different resources, and you'll be a little matrix. You'll say, hey, I need business plan assistance, and it'll give you all of the different resources throughout the community to help people get plugged in. And then also a frequently asked questions document, and basically 30 of the most frequently asked questions that we've been getting lately since the beginning of the year. And this is a document that we have input from all of the different service providers. That's going to be up there too. Again, knowledge will help squash that fear, and just, again, the relationship, knowing somebody, talking with somebody, them giving you that warm, fuzzy feeling that you may not know it at all, but here are some of the folks that can help you along the way.
I'd like to go ahead and add a few things. One of the things that not all of the industries are paralyzed. Construction is doing very, very well. We continue to make loans, and we're actually making loans for construction loans. Matter of fact, a lot of our 504 has done wonderful. There are a variety of IT services, and we've funded a number for their working capital and a variety of things. The IT is doing well because of the changes that have taken place. Because I see a lot of the IT companies that I know around town, they're replumbing a few businesses so that they can take advantage of everybody that may be teleworking or trying to keep everything up to date. So we can't think that all industry is paralyzed. It isn't. And maybe Ernest, you could tell from, that's one of the things I always tell bankers. The bankers can see the cash flow, what is coming in and out, what industries seem to be doing better than others. I know as I said, all construction, you do landscaping, I see so much work being done. The road construction people, there's too much being done out on Blondo right now, but it is being done. That is the other thing. Government construction has not stopped either. They're still buying, they're still building. We still have all this building and reconstruction that's being done because of the flooding. Most people don't realize that. So it's industry specific that's happening right now.
Yeah, I would say the construction industry, but in answer to Julian's original question, I always tell people, trust the process and do the work. But I think so much is built on relationship, but the resources are out there. I mean, I look around and I think everybody on this panel I've worked with or referred people to, but I go back to even something like North End, and I don't think people really realize that was all relationship. You couldn't put it together any other way. There wasn't people with a lot of money. It was an idea that Ed Taylor had and I had, and And it originally started with OEDC being a nonprofit, which is difficult to connect a nonprofit, but you had to have the talent, which was Ed and Carmen. You had to have the banker, which was me, but you also, in that particular thing, you had OEDC, you had Nebraska Enterprise pay the part, the chamber pay the part. So it's all about relationships, but a lot of businesses, it's about trusting the process. And I think Leon talked earlier about there's so many people that missed out on the PPP because they didn't have a banker. And it's not just having a banker, it's having a relationship with a banker. Because a lot of times you just get lost in the mix. You just call an 800 number. But if you have a relationship, somebody you can call and walk you through the process, that's so important. But the big thing to me is always trust the process and do the work. But the resources are out there. They're definitely out there. And you know, I know we're starting a new initiative that does a lot of the same things that you guys are doing, but in a little different way, which is the Carver Financial Center. And it's trying to put all those pieces together where you have the financing, you have the marketing, you have the banking, all in one shop. And obviously we'll still, Nebraska Enterprise Fund is playing a part, and we'll still be using all those resources that we always use. But hopefully that's a place that people can walk in right off a lake and feel comfortable. But it's the same resources we're always using, but hopefully that will alleviate some of their fear.
Yeah. Now, Ernest, so this Carver Financial Center, and you said, well, you know, using some of the same resources. What's the glue, you know, and the strength of really, you know, they launched that. I know later on this month, it's going to, you know, come to its full fruition in terms of what it's going to be doing. But I know I've been getting a lot of calls about that. And so I know you said BC, there's some partners on the phone, kind of talk about really, you know, people are calling, they have money in hand, they're ready to make deposits. What's the role of the bank in terms of that entity that's happening, and how might it fit? I believe we have Willie Barney as a participant, but I think what's the synergies around why this and why American National Bank is so invested in something like this?
Well, American National Bank is just a piece of it. Obviously, if you were able to put together 10 million, we probably want to start a black bank, but that takes a lot of capital. So you couldn't do
That's
that.
all?
Yeah, 10 million.
10 million?
You need 10 million to start a bank.
Come on now.
But
if we can get that
the
done.
thing is that not being in a position to do that, but wanting to have black ownership or create ownership, you know, where you're the owner. So the original thing is that you got the entrepreneur, which was Willie and his wife, and Pastor Martin, who actually owned the building. American National Bank is just a tenant. But to be able to offer those services where you still have all the backroom operations of the bank, but the purpose is those deposits that come into American National Bank, they can go to any branch, are supposed to be lent out in North Omaha to the African American community. So they're tagged specifically for that. So that money's supposed to be specifically dollar for dollar, whatever comes into Carver. And we've been doing really well so far. It's supposed to be lent out directly in that community. So American National is just a piece of it.
And Ernest, just real quick, is that piece, you know, is that going to be in a non-traditional way? So what's going to really, why should I go through this process versus just coming to American National Bank on my own? Is there some added benefits of going through
that's
a process?
The benefit I referred to. So all those deposits, if they say either done there or they go to any American National, they're tagged with a code that says it's Carver, and those funds can only specifically be used for that. That's the purpose of it. So, and the other purpose is American National Bank being a tenant that actually helps the cash flow, because we're paying rent to those two entities, the Barneys and the Williams. So now we become a tenant instead of us owning the building. We're just a tenant. So that helps in a couple of ways. But American National Bank is just kind of like containing the money and allowing it to be lent back out.
Okay. All right. Cool. Well, hey, I know we need to keep moving. Nicole is on. With all of this, Nicole, in terms of your area of expertise, in terms of helping people rebuild their credit. So how might we help some folks that's viewing this or listening to this what steps that you would have for them if they're in a space where they're having some challenges? How do we help them navigate through this?
Hi, Tim. Thank you so much. I will just piggyback off of what Winsley said. It is wisdom. A lot of us have been exposed to it and have a better understanding when it comes to obtaining knowledge versus other people. And in some of the lower communities, being educated or trying to get wisdom in areas of credit, banking, business, or what have you, it's just not the norm. We kind of go through day by day trying to eat and trying to just live. So opening a business, whether we have gifts, talents, or not, if the exposure is not there and we don't have people around us, like the networking or the Harvard that's coming into the area, we don't know. So when I'm working with a client, and I've been blessed enough to work with people in Omaha and the surrounding areas, from the multimillionaires to the people on welfare, there is a system in place that just teaches us not to pay credit back, number one. So you'll be given a little bit of credit right away. And when you don't know how to manage your money, and like BC said, you don't have the fundamentals and different things in place, that mismanagement leads to not being able to move forward. So when I sit down with my clients, so whether they're at the top of their game or not, when life happens, there's no way to pivot because they haven't had anything presented to them that's taught them how to pivot in times of pandemic. So I take them to the basics. I take them all the way down to the basics. And when I teach the girls, if I'm in Girls Inc., and we're talking about saving,
right,
spending, at the end of the day, just so with credit, just a financial analysis, we sit back and we look at your debt to income ratio. And we see exactly what you have coming in and what's going out. And we eliminate a lot of things. I've even had clients, married couple, move back in with their parents to eliminate debt and get their credit in order. And then I'll take them to, I'll expose them to Dave Ramsey and Susie Orman and Think and Grow Rich and all these different tools that are out here to educate us to become better. And I just work with them hand by hand. So if I could say anything from my business line of solutions, I come from the collections background, and I've been blessed to know a lot of the owners and VPs of the collection agencies around the area. So,
now, Nicole, just real quick, Nicole, what's a bad and an average score, and where should people be working toward when you look at, if we just, I know there's so much more that goes into it, but just so if you would throw some numbers out there, maybe Leon and some other folks that really look at the baseline of a credit score to make decisions. Let's talk about that a little bit so people can understand where they're at and where they got to get to.
Well, everybody's shooting for the high 700s and the 800. But what people don't understand is your credit worthiness is a reflection of you and your business. So until people understand that 35% of your history that goes into that FICO score is making your payment on time, it's a simple equation. Pay your bill and pay it on time. So rather it's in business and you're dealing with net terms, or it's your personal bills, it just needs to be paid on time. And then of course, you can tweak utilization and open an account here and do all of the other things to get it higher and higher. But your credit was put in place just to indicate with Fair Isaac and why it was created. It's credit worthiness. We can't shake hands anymore. So we had to put a number on it, and we had to put KPIs in place so that we in terms can look at your historical data to see if you're going to pay me back my money. So they shoot for the 700s and the 800s. And if you're looking to buy a home, you want to at least be mid 600. When you're dealing with businesses and you get into your Dun and Bradstreet and your Experian and Equifax business credit scoring modules. You need to be educated. And Martine and myself just taught a class on business credit matters, and we just break down the basics.
Oh yeah, Martine. Okay.
Yep. To
Right on.
replace the ignorance with wisdom.
Now, Leon, just real quick, we're gonna jump into the speed dating and answering quick questions. One of the questions, one of the viewers are saying, if you just start a business, how the heck do you build credit when you just start a business?
Mm-hmm. Well, one of the first things we do, we take a look at your personal credit. You know, based on that, and Ernest will say the same thing. If you could obtain a loan, and then you go out and establish credit with your suppliers, is what you do. You will be given terms. You've got to pay on those terms, and that's how you build a relationship with your bank. You have to pay your utilities, everything on time. You get signed up, as Nicole was saying, it's all the little things that go into establishing credit, and establishing that relationship and all of that. I have to think with Ernest, I tell you, with banks in our loan program, we may go down to 600, 6.25. We have another scoring model. Basically, we want to make sure you pay your taxes, you pay everything that you're supposed to on a timely basis. You're paying your student loans and all of that. Well, I have to tell you one thing when it comes to personal disasters, when a homeowner is involved, we've gone down the credit score of 475.
I've seen it.
And so it's more than just credit.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
it is more than just credit.
Package.
Yeah, it's more than just credit. But first, most people that start a business don't have business credit, and it relies on their personal credit. So that's not unusual not to have business credit. But the thing is to have your personal credit in order. And we will go as low as 660 or whatever. But it is more than just credit. Obviously, we're also going to look at your capacity, your debt to income. Mm-hmm. I mean, obviously, we don't like people when they start a business quitting their job if they don't show, because then all your personal expenses have to come out of that business. So there's a lot of different tangible, but it's not just credit. It's your debt to income, capacity to repay.
Correct. Cash flow. We teach cash flow. That's what we're looking for.
Right.
And real quick, just so people, and on the subject of building business credit, if someone would talk in terms of when people start talking about, because some people don't even know what their business credit is, and they've been in business for years. If somebody would talk towards helping them understand how that's established in terms of like where they find it, even when they register their business, making sure they have a Dun and Bradstreet, all these different things that make their business kind of exist to start building credit. If someone can kind of talk to that real quick, I think that would be helpful to some of our viewers as well.
Well, we just taught the class Business Credit Matters this last weekend. And I think the number one thing that people have to understand is small business owners. And even as you start to grow, because I've been blessed to work with multi-million-dollar publicly traded businesses that don't even have their credit systems in order and still kind of scramble to get things in place with your Dun and Bradstreet and different entities, is you have to be vulnerable. You have to be able to go to your bankers, these bankers and different people that are already in business when you don't know where to go. Because number one, you do need to open a business checking account. Mm-hmm. And then whether you know Dun and Bradstreet or not, depending on your business and if it's registered with the state, they know you. Mm-hmm. And you may have a number. Man, you need to see exactly what they're saying about you. But the only way to find that out is when you walk in, and you can go to Nebraska Enterprise Fund, and you can go to other small business owners, and you can engage with programs like this, that Tim has going, and just learn. I have to go right back to it's the wisdom. It's making sure you trump that ignorance with wisdom. And I just happen to be under Pastor Martin and Linnell Williams, who back in 2008 believed in me to even move forward with my business to help people repair credit. So your circle really does matter.
That's right.
And
That's right.
you
Yeah.
need to be able to, so open that business account, number one. You can call Dun and Bradstreet. A
Yeah.
lot of the financial institutes and the people there that I work with, whether it's Edward Jones, Renaissance Financial, Verdant Accounting, you can walk in for free and talk to them about your everything. And it's just, I'm sure American National Bank, you can just go in and there's personal bankers and there's people that are just like wanting to pour all this information into us. So
Yeah.
number one, make sure you separate your finances.
And sometimes, you know, people look at that in terms of you're saying, Nicole, hey, just, you know, walk in. You know, it's easier said than done. I mean, I'm just because you're really asking people to be vulnerable and kind of like they've been bad, but I tell you, there's no healing unless you acknowledge the pain and some of the challenges that you're dealing with that's in front of you. And we have not all been just, you know, clean of credit and not paying our bills on time and all those kind of things, but you got to start somewhere. It's some pain that you just cannot keep wallowing in. You got to get up and do something about it.
And you know, Julian,
one more quick question here. I'm sorry. Was that?
I was going to say, Julian, you talked about fear. That's like one of the number one things when people come in, even to NEF, about getting a loan. The first thing that says, my credit is bad. And I'll say, and the first thing I'll say, well, how is it bad? Oh, I have a really low score. And I said, well, what is it? Well, I don't know. So, you know, they've assumed that they have it. And so I always say, you know, when it comes to fear, you either can forget everything and run or face everything and rise. And I always want you to face everything and rise. So if you don't know what's on the credit report, let's print it out. Let's look at it. Let's see what things that may not even be yours that's on there, right? Let's take care of those things that need to be taken care of, because some of that's what's holding you back. Some of those things are maybe something you did when you're 18. It doesn't go away. It'll stay there until you take care of it. And so you have to take that time and that opportunity and not be afraid and, you know, face everything and rise to make it happen so you can move forward.
And I'm really hoping that the Carver creates an environment that people won't be as intimidated as they would if they walk into a bank, but still have the same resources, the same talent. So it's not like a fall off, but maybe because it's not the same environment as walking into a bank, that people could feel a little more comfortable
I think so.
talking to some of the people.
Hey, Ernest, just to that point, just real quick, because we got to move. You guys were coming up on 9 o'clock, but someone in the question said, where do they deposit? Can they make deposits for this Carver Financial Center? Where do they make deposits if they want to start?
Any American National Bank. It's all driven by a code. You can go to any American National Bank. You just have to tell them this is deposit for the Carver. That's how we have it set up. But we don't want to restrict it that you have to come to that particular location. But we want those funds to be. So if you go into any American National Bank, we have it set up that we send it out bank-wide. Everybody at every branch knows if somebody comes in for a Carver, those people know that they put in a specific code, and we track that. So we know, but you don't have to go to that particular building. You can go to any American National Bank.
Okay. That was a question. Julian, what are you thinking in terms of right now? What we probably should do in terms of just in this last 10 minutes, I'm thinking is, you know, let's start with Nicole and let the ladies go first. Nicole and BC. I mean, if you would have to summarize in terms of folks out there that's trying to just stand up and move forward, what would you leave them with? What's that elevator 60 seconds that you can just leave them with that can give them some hope that they can get this done? You want to kick us off, Nicole, and then we can just go down the line, and then Julian and I will wrap it up. There's some things that I want you to hear that Julian is doing that it's so important to this conversation.
Okay, yeah, definitely. Thank you, Tim. So I wrote a book called Moving Forward.
Okay.
And This book was designed to get people moving. And the number one thing people have to understand is that you were created for a reason. You have a purpose, you have a desire, and you have to move. You can't wait on permission. You have to go forward. And as you move forward, those doors do open. And just surround yourself with the right people, and they'll expose you to greatness, and you'll go from glory to glory to glory.
Oh my goodness, I love that. I love that, Nicole. Okay, DC.
Well, the one thing I'll say too is that nothing happens if you're not doing anything. So if you're sitting still and you have all these things to do and you're not moving, or you're not taking advantage or getting up, the one thing I'll tell you, that whatever it is that you feel is a barrier, you need to face it.
Yes.
Because if you don't, it'll still stay there. It'll be there tomorrow and the next day. So let's just stop saying I'm going to, and let's just do. I talked about executing. So if let's devise a plan. Let's execute that plan. Let's face everything, and let's rise to make happen whatever it is we want to happen. Because it's not going to happen for us unless we're able to do it ourselves.
Yes.
Nice.
Hallelujah.
Hallelujah.
Dang, I almost kind of want to pass the hat, you know, you ladies, for I don't know, fellas. I wouldn't want to follow them. So
let me drop my handle if you don't pass that hat.
If you had a microphone, you would drop it, huh? Bam. Okay, Leon, hey, go for it, man.
Okay, I'm going to play off what BC says. It's all about execution. You really do have to go for it. You've got to go ahead and reach out and talk to people. If you've got an idea, and you've got to build those relationships through that idea. I've done this a number of times and made people very, very wealthy because of it. Because they talk to me, they ask me, who do I know? And where should I go? And do you have an answer? And then another thing I tell everybody, you know, it may not be your first idea. It might be something along that journey that you're taking that you're going to find something else better, or a better idea, or somebody's going to give you an idea that you never thought of, that you know you can execute on. It's one of those things. I've seen it happen time and time again. May not be your first idea, but that idea along a journey that you take ends up being so much a better path and a business.
Right on. Winsley.
Yeah, so I think, again, the themes, relationships, knowing people, being prepared. The more people you know, the luckier you get, and especially if they're the right people, people who understand. So go to the bankers, the accountants, the people who are already in business. Ask them questions. People will be so surprised at how many people are willing to help and share their knowledge. You don't have to run into every brick wall that's out there.
Mm-hmm.
He has run into it, and they're very willing to point it out to you and help you move around it. So just reach out to people.
Right on. Ernest.
Well, you don't have to have all the income, capital, or money, but have access to that. I think if you could figure out a way to access the money and the capital and the relationship, then that makes it. And I think until we have control of our own financial, human capital, and marketing, we won't be competitive. So,
right on. So Julian, as we wrap up, Julian, for ones that don't know, founder, CEO of the Start Center, Omaha. So Julian, once you come, I'll give you an opportunity to kind of summarize what resonates with you in terms of from this night, and then we can move on. We got about 10 minutes, a little less than 10 minutes, and then I'll go ahead and wrap it up and go from there. Okay.
Yeah, well, I think everybody pretty much has said it. I want to make sure, real quick before I do go into my thoughts, I want to ask all of our panelists here right now, everybody that's shared so much great information and insight, can these people pick up the phone and call you?
Yes.
Yes,
Yeah,
definitely.
people have always picked up the phone and called me, so I don't know.
Yeah.
Any time of day or night, they call you.
Anytime.
Okay, so that's good. That's good. That's a good question, Julian. That's good.
So, and the reason I say that is it's for them, not you all, but for them that are listening. You hear them, but I know you see them. But these are folks that, again, you can pick up the phone and call.
That's the action.
Reach out, Nebraska Enterprise Fund, the REACH Initiative at the Greater Omaha Chamber, Carver Financial Center, Small Business Administration, American National Bank. These are all individuals that you can reach out to, and as you're hearing them, at the end of the day, folks, just pick up the phone and call somebody.
Yeah.
Just pick up the phone and call somebody.
Execute.
And you'll be amazed at who's there to help you. And second, my thing is go talk to somebody who's done it.
Mm-hmm.
Go walk right into their place of business and say, look, man, how the heck did you do this?
Yeah.
And you'll be shocked, because one thing that'll help you understand, you can do it. Okay. If we haven't made that abundantly clear tonight, you can do this. Right.
Do it.
I always like to talk about Malcolm Gladwell wrote a book years ago called The Tipping Point. And in that book, he talks about generally that every idea, we make all of our entrepreneurs at the Start Center go get this book. Well, we tell them to get it. I don't know if they go get it or not. Go get it. That every idea, typically, it's going to tip, right? The question is whether or not you're going to be around when it does. And so this thing is about understanding. How many times have people said, I had that idea, right? But the difference between you and the person who's prospering is they took action and you didn't. And so just remember that getting up, taking that first step, sending that email. I see folks are listening to their information now. Again, pick up the phone, call people, take that first step, walk into somebody's place of business. Do like I used to do and walk into Ernest's office at American National.
Right.
Yeah, he did too.
Right.
Ernest would have to say, hey, man, I'm with a client, man. But just pick up that phone and get started, So that's my encouragement to folks.
Okay. All right. Well, you guys, this has been real, and hopefully it's been real helpful as we pursue this whole thing of doing business. That's the theme for tonight. How do we do business and ready ourselves to do business? And it starts with really, raising your hand and say, hey, I need help. We can't get it done by yourself. That's what all these resources are for. You not only, Julian, you're not leaving out yourself, but you have a great vehicle in terms of just folks that want to start a business in terms of the Start Center. And you have so many clients, so many people that are successful because of taking the time to start right and having mentors and following them through that. And so I think you should put in the chat your information as one of the resources too. Can people call you?
Oh, absolutely. They know they can call me and they know where to find me too. So.
That's right. I tell you, I spent a whole lot of time at Scooters, and I think part of it too is we got to stop talking about it and do it, right? And taking that first step and supporting Black businesses. And I do want to take the time. These are some Black businesses that are forward into this movement, and I want to take the time and thank them. Capital Cigar Lounge in Lincoln, Surface One Paving, Wilburn Construction Management, Jan Pro Omaha, one of the top cleaning companies, especially now in terms of when you think about this virus and really trying to make sure your areas are, your homes, residents, and your commercial places are disinfected properly. Jan Pro Omaha, Emerald Cut Landscaping, 100 Black Men of Omaha, North Star, Avenue Scholars, the African American Empowerment Network, 24th Street Corridor, Neighborhood and Business Alliance, PPRP Innovations, And so you never get it. And I think we never get it done by ourselves. It takes a collective group of people to make this happen. And I think as we look at doing business, I think we got to do the business with yourself first. And that's a process. And then, when you're on the airplane, what do the stewardess, they say, hey, put your mask on first, regardless of who's next to you. You got to put your mask on first before you choose and try to help someone else. And so that's so important. And I see that people are putting information in the chat in terms of how to get a hold of folks. There's some other questions we just did not have time to get to. One of the questions was, what's the thoughts, and maybe people can put it in the chat box about the OOIC. That has been a mainstay in terms of North Omaha. Right now is closed. And how do we reimagine? How do we reopen and repurpose that? And so that was one of the questions, and they wanted to get some of your thoughts in terms of feedback on that. So if you would please give some of that feedback in terms of the chat, or even online as our Facebook folks, YouTube, your thoughts about how do we reimagine a place like OOIC. And then with Tony Goins, the last piece I have, you guys, is, with unemployment, underemployment, Metropolitan Community College have received some CARES dollars to help people to move them from unemployment and underemployed. And we define underemployed, I believe it's like $31,000 or less that you're making. And so what these grants will do, which you do not have to pay back, $1,100 for short-term certification programs that you can take to help move you from, really, you may be working in a job that you just don't like, but how do you now take this opportunity to jump into a career, move from a job to a career, and you can get that done at Metropolitan Community College. If you have interest in really exploring the possibilities of that, you can go to mccneb.edu/CARES scholarship. And that'll get you the information that you need. And so with that, I want to thank co-host, my man Julian, and all of our guests behind the scenes. I want to thank Jessica and Raheem and the folks to make this happen behind the scenes. And so you just don't get it done by yourself. And I just appreciate every single one of you that has taken the time. And really, how do we keep this thing going? I mean, Julian, he rightfully so, hey, can they call you? What can we do to keep this going? Because at the end of the day, we have enough vehicles and platforms that just talk about problems. And we didn't want to create that. We wanted to create some energy about putting together some thought leaders, some subject matter experts that give some tools on how do we lean forward? How do we imagine in terms of what's next? And then how do we help the individual become strong so they can impact their community? It starts with the individual. It starts with that family. And so that's really what, and I tell you, Leon, I'm coming to see you, brother, okay?
You know what we'll do? I'll come see you and we'll have coffee at Julian's.
That's what's up. That's what, because I got some innovation going on.
You guys gonna invite me?
And I need some money, okay? And Ernest, we're gonna.
Never mind.
I see Ernest all the time. Okay. But really, there's a lot of people doing some great work out there, and I tell you, it is so easy to point fingers and say, "Oh, this person's not doing this." We have an unbelievable opportunity in this community if we dare to really step out of our self and personalities and do what's bigger than us. Do what's bigger than us. And that's why we embrace these things that have happened. A Nebraska Enterprise Fund, what the Startup Center Omaha, Carver Financial Center. I mean, we need all of this, and we can do this collectively. The Chamber, the Reach, what you're doing, Winsley, Nicole, all the folks that's on here, we need each other. We need each other to survive. And so with that, we're gonna go into our last commercials. And thank you guys. Please fill out the survey. We'll be sending the survey. Give us feedback in terms of how we can strengthen it and make it better. If you have ideas in terms of speakers, go ahead and let me know that as well. If you have different ideas, I would appreciate that. My producer, before we, she's trying to tell me something in my ear, so I gotta see what she's talking about here. I think they're just sitting. Okay, okay. They told me wrap it up.
We knew that.
We knew that. We're only 8 minutes over. Okay, last time we were about a half an hour over. So we're getting better. Okay, we're getting better, Julian. We're getting better. Yeah. So thank you guys very much. Take time to be good to yourself. Stay safe. Wear your mask. This virus is real, you guys. People are dying. And so we have to really do what's necessary to help save our people. And we got to pay attention to what it's going to take. Social distancing, wearing that mask, and go get tested. Yeah. I get tested on a weekly basis. Yeah. And so I think let's encourage each other to get tested as we move into the winter months, back, the flu virus and all those kind of things. So thank you guys very much. I'm out of here. Right on.
Thank you.
Bye, everyone.
God bless you.
Bye, everybody.
Good night. Thank you.